Hello, greetings and salutations. Welcome back to the BFC, where we go into the trenches of the trading world. Happy Monday. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Today, we have a special guest, the CEO of Triumph Gold Corp, ticker TIGCF. John Anderson is the CEO, so I don't want to waste any time. Let's get right to it and do it. Let's bring him in. You see, John, anybody could fight through technical difficulties. We have arrived, guys. So welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm great, and I apologize for being late. You know, I'm in Canada. We're not like America where we've got for everything. We've got like 5 banks, 3 cell phone communicators, 4 insurance companies. So if one doesn't work, they all don't work. And sorry.
That happens from time to time. Like I was telling John, I go, hey, if I ever disappear, sometimes when we go international, this happens sometimes when I'll have a guest from like Europe or over in the Middle East, and sometimes I just disappear. So I told him, hey, if I disappear, just keep going. So John, it's great to have you on the show.
Just remember, as the newest, 51st state into the union, we're all on the same page now.
Well, let's get right into it. The Coyote Knoll acquisition. Let's start with the Utah acquisition. What specifically attracted Triumph Gold to Coyote Knoll? And was it the grades? Was it the jurisdiction or the geological similarity to the Tintic mining district?
It's 2 things. It was actually because it is silver and the mining district. So our flagship property, which is up in the Yukon, and it's a fantastic property. We spent over $54 million on it. It's got a massive resource. It's got over 2 million ounces gold equivalent. It used to have more than that under former regulations. It's got incredible infrastructure. It really is the gem. But because it is in a remote area, I'm a businessman, and I've sat here and we went through the bear market the last 3 years, and we didn't spend any money on it because we own it outright. We weren't getting a valuation for it. And, at the end of the day, this business is a business. It's not, a dream. You want the best deposit and you want, the glory and the pat on the back. It's about business. And this opportunity came up in Utah with a very high grade silver project with some friends of mine. It's been privately owned. It's never been operated in a public company, and it's got incredible grade. I would say de-risk. It's got great infrastructure. It's an hour, just over an hour south of Provo, Utah. And there's a road that goes right to the property, and it had been drilled with 39 drill holes. There's also a 12-ton bulk sample that was done on it. And to put that in perspective, that's the equivalent of about 30 half-ton trucks full of ore, better than drill holes. And that graded 45 ounces of silver and 0.125 gold. So the silver is phenomenally rich. It's, you could say world-class as far as the grades. The gold alone stands alone as a gold mine. And so what we want to do is really explore that and expand on that. So it didn't cost a lot for us to get it, $150,000, and the vendors know me. They know of our project in the Yukon, and they wanted exposure to that because everything's a cycle, and the Yukon's going to come around, gold is going to come around, Canada's going to come around. But right now, the sweet spot is silver in the United States, and the Utah mining district is considered the number 2 district in the world by the Fraser Institute, right behind Botswana in Africa.
Right on. Thank you for answering that. Let's talk about the deal structure and the long-term vision here. The acquisition term stretch over 4 years with a mix of cash and share-based payments. How does this phase structure align with your broader strategy of capital discipline and shareholder value creation?
So that's a great question, because a lot of people in our industry, they just want to go out and drill, dilute, raise money, drill, and hopefully find the dream. I took over this company in 2015, 10 years ago. And I was going to sit there and do nothing because we have 5 million, had 5 million ounces up in the Yukon. It's obviously, under new regulations about 2 million ounces. But until you get value for your asset, why go out and dilute shareholders? Because I'm a 10% shareholder, and my core investors are on the same alignment as I am. Is that we think that the gold stocks are absolutely going to explode on valuation. And I could gladly, walk through it with your viewers, but we wanted something that we know we've got a company that is worth a lot more than it was trading at, but I wanted something that was accretive for the investors, which I am a large investor of. So I'm not really in there as the CEO. I'm there as a major investor, and never sold a single share of this company, but I truly see where this asset can actually propel Triumph back to its historical market caps, and then the Yukon will get valuation.
That's nice to hear. It's always nice to hear when a CEO remembers that he's a big shareholder too. And so, that's awesome. And that for me is a very strong indicator with what you guys have going on. So that's great. It's all about leadership. And thanks for looking out for the investor, man. Seriously. Now, let's talk about going beyond Yukon. Triumph has long been synonymous with Yukon exploration through the Free Gold Mountain Project. How does adding a U.S.-based asset like Coyote Knoll fit into your overall portfolio diversification and year-round operational capabilities?
That's a great question. The Yukon, which if you look at a map, everyone, it doesn't look like it looks like it's in the Arctic. It's below Alaska though, and our project is blessed with infrastructure. So the highway that goes from the lower 48 up to Alaska goes right past our property, and that highway is maintained by the U.S. government or paid by the U.S. government. And thank you very much. But we also have a road that goes to our property and through our property. Our property is 200 square kilometers. That's 5 times bigger than Manhattan. We have 3 deposits on that project. I know that's eventually going to be acquired by one of the majors. The Yukon stocks are starting to really get a lot of traction. But in my heart, I've been in this business a long time, and what I see with Coyote Knoll in Utah is something that we can move really quickly. The state wants it, the people want it. It's right off a highway. It's right at surface. There's no, real environmental issue at all. It's small scale, high grade. It's moving rock from one spot to another spot, and the profit margin will be very large. And all I have to do, and our team have to do, is prove up that resource. And it's not as much, legally or officially it would be a greenfields project, but as I mentioned earlier, it's got 12 tons of a bulk sample. It's got years of expiration on it. And what we're going to do is go and, shake that tiger by the tail and see what's there.
Might as well. You gotta. That's why you're there. And, we'll see what happens.
And we're welcome there. We're wanted there.
Yeah. I mean, you're we all know where things, especially in the United States, we know we're going to be doing more mining. You know what I mean? So you're taking advantage of it. You're in a really good spot and in a good position, especially being the 51st state. No, I'm just kidding, of course. Hey,
No,
you started that joke first, man. No, it's great having you. And I'll be honest with you, like I just started covering a lot of mining stocks more recently because of the position of the United States and the policy. So I've been learning quite a bit in this realm. So I love when you guys come on and educate me. You know what I mean? So it's great having you.
I just want everyone to realize that mining is not, this environmental liability that everyone thinks it was, because those perceptions are back from 100 years ago and 70 years ago. Mining is very simple. If you actually look at quarries that build roads, that's all we're doing. It just happens our quarry has a lot of gold and silver in it, especially in Utah. It's got a lot of silver. And to put the numbers in perception, our margins that we see potentially could be there are massive. So we could make money just, supplying the quarry, the rock for the road systems. And as we all know, Salt Lake City is really growing. This is not far from there. There happens to be a lot of gold in there and silver. It's probably the best silver project I've seen out of Mexico or Africa.
Wow. Let's talk about resource verification. The release notes that much of the Coyote Knoll data is historical and non-compliant under NI 43-101. And maybe you could explain a little bit about that as well. But what specific steps are planned to validate and update this data? Can we expect twinning and metallurgical test work in the near term?
100%. So we're going to go out and drill the project. The reports that we saw were I won't say arm waving. They were just so exciting. And what we want to do is expand on that. And these people that operated this project privately, they were putting their own money in. They weren't using other people's money. They weren't using the public's money. They put their own money in. What happens in the sector is that they were just owning the project at the wrong time of the cycle. And what I think the fortuitous thing that we were able to do is get this thing as we're going into the biggest, and I will say gold and silver commodity market in the history of America, North America, since the 1970s. And so we will, we'll respond obviously as a Canadian company that has probably got the most restricted compliance as far as public companies. Respect that, as you mentioned, that 43101. But a 43101, it de-risks things. But at the end of the day, if you drill along this property, we're very, very confident that we're going to confirm the old historical drill holes and expand upon them.
Right on.
And also realize that the owners of the property also have a royalty on this thing. And so they're being so obviously helpful and giving us all that local knowledge. It's like, it's
hey,
amazing.
If you want to find gold or silver in my backyard, I'll be very supportive of you. Just saying.
Exactly. But, one must realize that local knowledge is invaluable and local acceptance of a project is imperative. And that's what we have.
Right on. Your team highlighted similarities between Coyote Knoll and the Tintic district, particularly epithermal and CRD style mineralization. Can you elaborate on how those parallels could guide future drill targeting or model development?
Okay, so you are, I would say this is what I would say is cross-dressing.
Explain this one to me like I'm in high school again. Go for it.
Okay, so you're bringing up a question that's very technical, and I'm not,
How in layman's terms can you put this? Because I know that people will read these things in the PRs, and I was combing through your PRs, and I'm reading them, I'm like,
I'm having fun with this because I used to work with the guys that were now B2 Gold, and Clive Johnson, who's the CEO and the chairman of that. He used to always say, no cross-dressing. It's like, what do you mean? And it was a very basic thing. It's like the lawyers shouldn't talk geology, the geology people shouldn't talk engineering, the engineering shouldn't talk accounting. At the end of the day, you get the right people involved to handle that aspect of the project. So yes, we have the right team. And as far as the Tintic project, you realize that I think people have to understand the vendors of the project that we bought it from sold the Tintic project to a Cisco development, and they made a lot of money for themselves. And it's been a very successful company that a Cisco development has developed since then. And the vendors got this area of the property back, and they didn't even know they had it. And on it were all these historical mining claims, of which there was an old silver mine on the project. And that silver mine had a lot of data. And then other people got involved and developed it, as I said earlier, in a bad market. But we are the beneficiaries of it because we saw the opportunity. So what we're not going to try to compare it to the tintic. The tintic is very high grade gold, low silver. This is the same type of rock, but it's very high grade silver and good gold. So it's kind of a flip side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want silver exposure, I think Tintic is probably, or sorry, Coyote Knoll, which we have purchased, is probably one of the better leveraged opportunities in the silver market globally.
Right on. And, in one of your PRs, it basically said, surface samples show notable silver and gold values, but also Pathfinder elements like copper, lead, and zinc. So could this suggest a broader polymetallic system?
Absolutely. As I said, mining is moving rock from one place to another, and the cost to do that is X. And what you sell it for is how you can, as you mentioned, metallurgically get all those minerals out and sell that. And that's the process we're into. We own something, and now we're going to really shake that tail of, the tiger by the tail and see what's there. And we've got the
And
right people.
I never thought about that. Like, all right, we're talking about mining, and all right, we're talking maybe rich in silver, rich in gold. But like I was just saying, and just like you're explaining, there's so many other things there that could have value to them. So it's like the added bonus almost, right?
Yeah, well, I think that, you're absolutely right. And you look at our project up in the Yukon, when we came up with our PEA in 2013, and again, legally, I think I have to say it's historical. So it was 2013. That's when gold was $1,250. Copper was $2.25. We've now taken that same data, and now you put $3,900 gold, you put $5 copper, but it's all the other minerals. And I gotta stress, there's a lot of molybdenum, which was completely written off in the last numbers. It's now a massive component. Tungsten, for example, we didn't put any value in the tungsten. Tungsten's the hottest metal out there right now. You've got antimony, you've got all these other assets because if you go in your backyard and you look at your backyard and you think you've got pure topsoil, what's in that topsoil? Well, the industry is, so mature now, you can get every mineral out of these, you know, backyard soils. And what we have is a massive, massive project up in the Yukon. The reason I went after Coyote Knoll was that my favorite commodity out there is gold, but silver is I think even more leveraged. And it's the same thing. We got incredible silver, like world-class silver results, and now gold. And so that's what we're trying to do. You're moving rock from A to B and processing it, and you get as much out of it as you can.
That is the best 5-year-old explanation. So when somebody asks me what is mining, I'm going to say move the rock from A to B and process it. That's it. So
That's all it is.
nobody's ever explained it to me like that, and which that's essentially what it is. Now the process itself, I could just imagine, what you guys got to do to extract. That must be just crazy.
Well, it's been around for 5,000 years, so it's not new technologies or anything that can only enhance things. But at the end of the day, you are taking wheelbarrows of rock and turning it into a lot of money.
Mm.
And obviously, as a shareholder, we see the benefits of it, but also locally creates jobs. The government gets royalties, the locals get royalties. It's a win-win-win-win situation.
I got to ask you, I got to follow up because I was thinking about this and I've discussed this on other podcasts, but the scanning technology, do you think that a lot of mines and a lot of these places are being revisited and explored more because the scanning technology is getting much more efficient?
It's getting better for sure. It's the oil and gas industry changed completely with technology when they came out from 2D to 3D seismic technology,
Mm.
and we have not been in the mining sector have that new technology that's been able to do that. So I think that will be game changing for explorers and the big mining companies. But it's 2025. This is a reset economically to 1972. It's almost like, you know, people say, or Mark Twain said, history never repeats itself, but it sure does rhyme. And why I believe that is because human nature doesn't change. And so we're going into that whole stagflation area where prices are skyrocketing, food, commodities, energy, and wages aren't. So sadly, we're in that period. But as a miner in the gold and the silver industry, our shareholders will be massive beneficiaries of that.
Thanks for answering that. I appreciate that. I want to move on to capital allocation and Free Gold Mountain. With multiple assets now in play, Free Gold Mountain, Andalus Light Peak, and Coyote Knoll, how are you prioritizing exploration budgets across projects, not just in this year, but in 2026? And is Free Gold still the flagship, or are you moving toward a dual track focus?
Great question. Definitely dual track. So, as much as I said we're not doing much in the Yukon. We weren't doing drilling the last 3 years because you weren't getting value for it. But we did a lot of work. We've identified the whole tungsten side of it, but also the antimony. And antimony is probably next to tungsten, probably one of the most valued commodity right now. Definitely, you can just look at the value of the commodities, and that's on our property. We have a huge antimony trend. So we have identified that. We just haven't drilled. So everyone wants drill, 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 new discoveries. That's why we're doing Coyote Knoll. So the first amount of money that we're going to do going into even later this year is to drill in Utah at Coyote with a high grade gold. But regardless how big Coyote could be, you can't ignore the fact the Free Gold Mountain project has over $54 million spent on it with a lot of success. It was just in a bad market. But we're at a $15 million valuation now. We know we can get up to that value, or we're very confident we can. It's de-risked, and it's only going to get bigger. And money is starting to flow in the Yukon. The Yukon had a real black eye on it because of another company had an environmental issue. That was 2 years ago. The Yukon stocks are starting to get a lot of attention from institutional investors, and we have definitely the best leverage project, I think, in the Yukon, and it's got incredible infrastructure. That is the flagship, but I think the driver will be Coyote Knoll because I'm very confident that this is going to turn into something that will spin out and list in the U.S. as a U.S. Subsidiary.
No, I love how you broke that down, and even mentioning the antimony is important because the possibilities of all these things, and right now with things in China being shut down, essentially, this is where you guys pick up the slack, and this is where you guys get a chance to make some bread. So, good
No,
for you guys.
here we got a
You know,
$15 million company, and as I mentioned earlier in the pre-feasibility study or the PEA that was done in 2013 in the resource, we put zero value on tungsten. If you take our tungsten resource in just the open pit, multiply it by its grade, and we did leaching on or recoveries on it, there's an extra $140 million in 8 years of production on it.
wow.
And that's just a small byproduct of the copper. If the big copper gold porphyry system that we have up there is phenomenal. If we came up with those drill holes that we had in 2018, 2019 today, I'm very confident it would be a darling in the market. And don't forget, I said we did nothing for the last 3 years. I put the company you call it in the dressing room for 3 years, because if no one's going to pay up to show up for your baseball game or your hockey game, why go out and spend lots of money on big salaries and hire those big baseball players? And eh, now we're getting ready for it, because I'm very, very sure, with my background, my history, and my knowledge of this industry is about to explode, and we have an incredible leveraged opportunity.
I could sense it. I know people in the mining industry, they're getting excited. I used to joke all the time back in the day. A couple years ago, I go, man, mining stocks are so boring. So boring. Mining stocks are boring. I'll tell you right now, it's very exciting. These last couple months have been truly exciting. And this is your guys' time to shine now. And it's like, it's been fun covering these things, man. It really
Well,
has.
your opportunity is, with your followers are fantastic, because I do want to end on something, on a macro issue, and I'm a macro person.
Yeah, Ray,
I'm
go
not
for
a
it.
I'm not a geologist and engineer, but gold stocks are trading like 8 times earnings. Historically, they traded at 35 times earnings.
Mm.
In the Depression, stocks in the Dow traded 8 times earnings. That's how small and unloved our industry is. And the reason
Sure.
you have the success of Agnico Eagle and Kinross and B2 Gold and these great, great producers is the commodity price has gone up. So their profit margins have gone up,
Mm.
but they're still trading at 8 to 10 times earnings, when typically they go to 35 terms earnings. Your leverage is the commodity. And then you look at the high tech stocks, and I'm sure there's a lot of US, followers you have, but they're trading at 35 times earnings on the NASDAQ, and
Yeah,
they
it's
don't make
wild.
money, or very few. And so you're going to see the sector rotation. And so the S&P right now, the most profitable sector is the gold mining sector, and it's traded at 8 times earnings. And when you see that sector rotation come in, you watch. And I am one of these. I'm not a gold bug, but I believe gold is going to go to $5,000 gold an ounce in the next couple of years. I think
Mm.
silver is always a year behind it. That's why we bought Coyote Knoll. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's what we've really wanted, is to have fun in this industry. It's been capitally starved, and I
Mm.
think you're going to see the generalists start to come in.
Yeah, and earlier you were talking about cycles, and so this is the bottom. And I'm not saying you said that, and this is not financial
Mhm.
advice, but every stock, every industry has its time to shine. And like you said, there's so many industries and sectors that are completely overvalued. You look at some of these companies that they're
Mhm.
trading, multiples of 40, 50x,
Yeah.
of what their actual revenues are.
Mhm.
And they don't sometimes have the best filings either. But you look at the market cap and you scratch your head and you go, damn, that's impressive. So, like I said, over the last couple months, I'm getting excited. I think a lot of people, like you clearly are in this industry, are getting
Mhm.
excited. So, the right place, right time, take advantage of it. So, this is something that investors, you guys should definitely take advantage of and, look at, or at least do more due diligence into, because the whole purpose is for me,
Right.
finding stocks and finding companies that are not yet discovered, or they haven't hit their surge point yet. And I think we're at that in not just with you, but in the mining world with other mining plays as well.
And the way we started this conversation off, and I apologize for being late because of technical difficulties, and I took a couple shots at my country. Um, but
Hey,
you
look,
you
as long as you didn't take a couple shots, I guess. But hey, we could do a drinking segment too, right?
I'm game for that. But look at Australia. Australians, they put all their money, their retirement money, into superannuated funds, and they
Mm,
invest in Australian companies only. And that's
mm,
why the Australian stocks are trading at 3 times the value of a Canadian stock with the same asset. And in Canada, we sit here, our pension funds, which is the equivalent of your 401ks, they used to have 100% investment into Canada. Right now, it's less than 8%. And so the Canadians who should be, really following this sector, they're not even there. They are, the fund managers in Toronto are sheep. They follow what happens in the US. And so it's going to be the U.S. investors, the U.S. institutions who I speak with, and you look at the listing, the volume of our stock in the U.S. versus Canada, it's 3-1 right now. It's all American investors. So when that comes into Canadian stocks, the Canadian stocks are going to do exceptionally well because we have the right people, we understand the industry. But guess what? Look at Triumph Gold. We're going to the US investors, and we're just ahead of the curve on it. And I can't thank the fact that you asked me to be on your show with an American audience, because really that's what we're going for, and that's the asset that we're going to push off because we understand it, or at least I do, and that's my philosophy.
Right on. I do want to ask one last question, and you could have a closing statement to all your shareholders too. But looking at the next 12 months, all right, what is the single best milestone or catalyst Triumph Gold investors should have on their radar? That's a juicy one.
Discovery expansion on our silver project in Utah. I know what we have in the Yukon. It's going to be recognized. The Yukon stocks are doing exceptionally well. Money's coming into the sector, but you have to look at the shareholder expectations and the reward shareholders get. It's not about taking a 2 million ounce resource and making it 4. It's a new discovery. And I'm very, very confident we're going to have that in Utah with the silver project.
Right on. All right. Any final thoughts to shareholders or anybody watching today, especially people in the States that are maybe looking to dive right into Triumph?
Sure. If you want to call me directly on my mobile, go ahead, 604-218-7400, and I'll spend whatever time. I'm passionate about this, and I think the time is right.
Hell yeah. Listen, John, it was great having you on. Your maiden voyage, very informative. I look forward to having you on, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, or even as things progress, so you could update our community and share how things are going.
Well, you have my mobile number, which is my WhatsApp number, and that's the best way to get a hold of me.
All right, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you called me. Sure, you're making me feel old.
Hey, next time we do the bourbon hour. We used to do the bourbon hour here on the BFC. We used to do the bourbon of the week. But then I realized I started to collect all these bourbons, and I looked like I had a problem. But I actually found some really good bourbons.
I think your problem is probably all the money you've got invested in your 6 strings on the wall behind you.
Hey, you know what? That's the musician in me right there, man. 100%. All right,
awesome.
John. Great having you, and look forward to having you back on.
I really look forward to it. Thanks again.
Peace out.
Ciao.
I'm telling you, the mining stocks are just getting more and more entertaining for me. I know. But hey, that's what this is all about. Entertainment, information, due diligence. And, I did want to talk about one other stock. But before we do that, I want to let you guys know next Monday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, we are going to have Maggie on. Now, this stock has done a nice job. It's in a consolidation phase, in my opinion. They've had a ton of news as of late. So it's about time that we sit down with them and find out what the hell's going on, especially with the orphan drug status and all that good stuff. So next Monday, October 13th, 4:30 p.m., make sure you are there. Now, there's one other stock I wanted to talk about tonight. Oh, yes, CVAT. And I got to rant on this just a little bit. These guys have been putting their PRs out there. I honestly think that this is going to be a major runner in the next, couple months in the Q4. I think it's their time to shine. And I'm gonna go on my tangent in a second, but I want to go over just a couple of the PRs that they put out. That they expanded cavitation non-thermal plasma technology into Bitcoin mining, into the Bitcoin mining sector with immersion cooling applications. All right, so they have that going on. They just recently appointed Anton Gloster as VP of Blockchain Infrastructure Technology at ZeroCorp. All right. And so, listen, ZeroCorp is their new subsidiary that is going to be under CVAT. And this recent PR, this was just a couple days ago, ZeroCorp positioned to capitalize on explosive growth in data center immersion cooling market. And so it gives you all the details right there. Guys, just go on otcmarkets.com and search through all their PRs lately. these guys have been crushing it. They've been making moves. And by the way, I got a chance to meet the CEO twice. We just actually had dinner last week. Then we got to sit down, and that guy doesn't stop. Neil Voloshin does not stop. He's a machine. He's up at 3. He goes to bed at 12. I mean, like, he's just one of those guys that just goes. You could see the work ethic there. Love the work ethic with Neil Voloshin and what they're doing at CVAT. But they have not been quiet. This is a low float, in my opinion. And I'm saying that because a lot of it's locked. This thing moves very, very easily when it's allowed to. And there's no convertible notes on this thing too. There are some warrants, but there's no convertibles and no insider selling. So listen, this is what I'm going to say about this. All right. Because I've been getting messages all week last week. Oh, why are you so bullish on CVAT? What the hell's going on? So I'll just be straight up with you. All right. First off, the company isn't new. Cavitation has been around since 2007. All right. And in OTC years, that's basically like ancient history. All right. Most of these tickers don't survive 5 minutes, let alone 18 years. They've built real tech and have over 40 freaking patents. All right. And here's the part that blows my mind. They've never done a reverse split in all that time, not once. So that alone tells me that they actually respect their shareholders. Now, fast forward to today. They launched a new subsidiary called Zero Corp, and suddenly they're in the middle of two of the hottest markets in the planet, crypto and AI infrastructure. All right. Their cavitation non-thermal plasma technology isn't some buzzword nonsense. It's a proven way to extend the life of immersion cooling fluids, reduce contamination, and cut maintenance costs, which is exactly what's crippling data centers and crypto miners right now. I mean, the expense cost of these things is through the roof. Ask Ryan Shado of MVCO. He'll tell you. But listen, guys, the truth is, and by the way, I will say, I still have their product, the Barmuse. It's another product that they use or that they have. It's a patent-backed product that does alcohol purification to mitigate that hangover. And by the way, it works and it's awesome. It's a great product. I just want to say cheers to you guys. And thanks for letting me borrow that. I feel spoiled. So, listen, it's not going anywhere, right? So the immersion cooling market itself is valued at $4.9 billion this year. And it's expected to more than double to $11 billion by 2030. That's a 17.9 compound growth rate. All right. Look. All right, I'm going to pull this up. Right. Oh, I already did pull it up. See, that's what I've been looking at it. All right. It's already up. All right. It's not a niche thing, guys. Amazon Web Services literally confirmed its next-gen NVIDIA GPU racks are going liquid cooled. All right. That's going to happen. Even Shell jumped in with certified fluids for Intel chips. That's validation at the highest level. So they're putting themselves in the mix. All right. So I don't know. When I see a micro cap with a tiny market cap of around 11 million, it's never split. It's had real patents, and it's now moving into a multi-billion-dollar trend. I'm freaking bullish on this one. I've been adding to my position. I've added a lot last week. And listen, I'm not saying this is going to the moon tomorrow. I'm not saying that. It's the OTC. The volatility, it's baked right in there. But I'm someone that looks for the real tech, the real products, credible leadership, and their staying power, And I'll be honest, CVAT checks the boxes, and I'm all in on this one, right? I'm really enjoying CVAT and working with Neil and the team, and they plan on getting out there even more. So I plan on having him on the show very soon. We're going to do an update, and I want to have Anton on, their latest edition, so that way we could pick his brain a little bit. And that's it. I'm all about CVAT. There's so many good stocks out there, but I wanted to focus on that one a little bit today, just to share with you where I'm at right now. I don't even know what my share count is. I added a bunch. I think I don't know. I don't want to give you the wrong number, but remember, it's not financial advice. This is just one that I really, really like. And by the way, if you look at the chart, I should have had the chart ready, but it's very supported, and it's had a very strong run over the last year. But we're on the cusp, I think, of moving up and out of this region into something a little bit more spectacular. So we'll find out. So that's all I got today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. Happy Monday to you. Let's crush it out there. Let's keep doing what we do. And remember, there is more that binds us than breaks us. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen.